welcome to Nina's Knots Crochet. I'm Lynanne. If you're new here, hey, thanks for stopping by, checking out my channel. My channel, it's all about crochet, a little bit about knitting, a lot about yarn, but mostly it's about my journey through this fantastic yarning community. Returning subscribers, thanks so much for coming back, spending a little bit of your Monday with me. Today is day 4 of hashtag OTCS National Crochet Month. This is a hashtag challenge put out there on the YouTube streets by Ola Jo. If you do not know Ola Jo, go check out her channel. I have her listed in the description box below. She has some really interesting content, you guys. You'll be glad you went to go check her out. So for today's challenge, it was something I want to try. And for this one, I'm kind of double dipping because this is something I've always wanted to try. This is a pattern I've always wanted to try since I saw it. And it's also going to now bleed over into my Make Along Monday, which is today is also Make Along Monday update. And so I'm double dipping this into Judy's Creations and Crochet, her tropical bird inspiration. So what I wanted to try first is using some of my minis. You know, I've got a ton of minis. I have 3 pickle jar bags. Well, I have 1 pickle jar and 2 bags of refills. Then I've just accumulated minis along the way, picking them up at local yarn stores, picking them up on destashing sites. I even made some of my own minis. So minis have been collecting, and I'm like, I want to try to start using them in a project. And then when I first discovered Tunisian about 2 years ago, I found this designer, and her name is Anne Van Winkle, and she's got some really, really pretty Tunisian patterns that I wanted to try. And she's had 2 that I'm like, I really want, and they're specifically done with minis. And the one that I picked out for this time is her Tunisian Pride Shawl 2. There's another one that I'm going to do that one too, but I picked this one because I liked the shape of this one, and it was a little less complicated than the first version. So, and because I wanted something I could do fast, not that it was overly complicated. So what I did, and if you saw my Facebook or Instagram, you'll know that I did this. I went through all of my bags of minis, and I pulled out all the greens, all the green variegateds, some of the yellowy and the orange, and some bright green, and some other green mixtures, and some green mixtures. And then I came across this one. This isn't a mini. This is some that I pulled off of a hank of yarn that I dyed last summer with like the greens and the yellow. So I threw them all in here. Some of them I may not use. Now, you know, when I look at them, I'm like, this doesn't seem green enough, but I liked the yellow in it. Let me pop a picture of the bird in here. There's a lot of colors to choose from. Lots of shades of green, some blue, some red. There's some yellow and orange in the beaks. Like, here's like a purpley blue for the one bird. So there's a lot going on here as far as the colors in the bird. So I pulled out all of my minis, and then I pulled some of the off of the skein for this color. So what I'm doing is this Tunisian Pride Shawl, and it's kind of a boomerang looking thing. But you can see I started down here with the color that I dyed, and then I went this green right here. I just had gotten this from Adam. If you don't know Adam, Crafty Wool UK, His mini club, that's this green right here that came in this month's. And then I threw in some of this orange, and now I'm starting this variegated that's got some blues and some lime green. So I'm just gonna randomly put these minis in until this is as big as it goes. So this is all going to be shades of green and a little bit of blue. I even have a little teeny tiny bit of red that I'm going to throw in because there's red on the one bird. So all these colors. So I'm going to try to use my minis. That's what I'm going to try to do. So I'm double dipping into Judy's, and that's how this is going. And this, you guys, these are all superwash merino minis. They're, you know, between 10 and 20 grams a piece. I think most of them are 10. So it's going to be a lot of color changing, and I'm okay with that. But I'm thinking, since I started it with the yarn that I dyed, I probably will do an end section. So it's kind of flanked in this, the colors that I dyed in the, like the light green and the yellow. So that is what I'm doing as far as make-alongs and the challenge. So they kind of like mesh together. Isn't that cool? You know? Anyway, so yeah, I love this pattern. This pattern is a paid-for pattern on Ravelry. I want to say it was like $5 maybe. I am not following her color change in the pattern itself because I want to get a lot of my minis in. I want it to be a lot of color changing. She uses, I want to say 8 or 10 different colors, and I intend to go back and do this the way she has done it with the actual fade. But I just wanted the shape of this. So I'm using her pattern with my minis as they go. And like you can see, I don't know if you can tell, like in the middle of this row, where'd it go? La 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 la. Like halfway through one of the rows, oh, right here. You can tell right here is where it changed over to the orange. I didn't care. I just kept going. That's perfectly okay with me. If it can change mid-row, it can change at the beginning, at the end. It's just gonna flow. So it's gonna be a little bit color blocky, a little bit stripy, a little bit variegated, a little bit solid. It's gonna be a lot of things. And it's gonna be fun. And again, if I get this done in time, because it's mostly green, it's going to be my St. Patrick's Day. I had a subscriber, Marie. Thank you, Marie. She sent me a beautiful shawl. It was called Clover and Thistle, I believe is the name of the shawl. And it's really pretty. And I got through the first, I want to say 6 rows of it. And then somewhere I lost literally 10 stitches. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I did it. I frogged it and tried it again and did it again. So I got frustrated with it and put it aside. It's really, really a very pretty shawl. I may go back to it. I may not. When I get frustrated with things, sometimes I have a tendency to put them in timeout and never touch them again. And that's okay. Maybe I will buck up and try again. But Marie, thank you so much for sending the pattern. I did save it, and maybe I'll give it a go again later. We'll see. Sydney, I FaceTimed her yesterday, and I was telling her how my granddaughter Carson wanted a tote bag, and she's like, well, Nina, I want a tote bag. So now I got to make another tote bag for Sydney. No problem. I can do it. She wants it in light blue, and I have plenty of light blue cotton. So I'll be making another tote bag here coming up soon. I did get a boggy blanket done yesterday afternoon. while we were watching Oppenheimer. If you watched my video yesterday, I said we were going to watch that movie. I have to tell you, I understand why it won the awards that it did and was nominated for the awards it was nominated for. The beginning, where they're jumping from the present to the future and back and forth, going from black and white to color, you had to pay attention. Otherwise, you're lost. And you kind of had to know a little bit of history. You kind of had to know a little bit about the Manhattan Project. You kind of had to know a little bit about what was going on with all of that. Lucky for us, Tom and I, we kind of know more than the average Joe because his parents grew up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Were part of the Manhattan Project where they were stabilizing the plutonium at the YK-12 or the K-12 plant, or K-12 plant. They lived through that. They were there. They were in the walled-off city of Oak Ridge as kids. So we've been to the museum there. We've been to, there's still remnants of that era in the city to this day. There's an apartment building in the city that used to be the housing for the people who worked there. You can see the plant is still there to this day. I think Tom's cousin works for them. She's in human resources in the plant itself. So you can, in the woods, in the hills, you can still see the guard towers. You can go down some roads that still have the gates across them that wouldn't let people in. So it was kind of interesting from that perspective, seeing, we knew what was going on in Oak Ridge at the time, seeing what was going on in Los Alamos at the time. It was really kind of interesting. What they did to Oppenheimer after the fact, that was kind of criminal, if you ask me. But it was a very dark, very thought-provoking movie. Tom and I, we paused it at one point and looked at each other and said, wow, could you imagine having to live through that? I couldn't. I can't imagine. I mean, it was bad enough that, we grew up in the 70s and 80s and we're waiting for the Russians to drop a bomb on us. But to think that nobody knew what they were doing and they could have literally ended the world and they didn't know what was happening. Anyway, this is a crochet channel. You didn't want to hear. But I will say, it was an interesting movie. Will I watch it again? Probably not. But I can understand why it got the attention that it did. It was very well acted. Everybody in it was phenomenal. Even Matt Damon was really, really good in his role. Emily Blunt was fabulous in it. So yeah, I would recommend it if you're interested in, it's not a fluff movie. It is not a fun movie. It's a very thought-provoking movie. So, with that, that's the movie review part of it. But, so anyway, I did get a baggy blanket done yesterday while I was doing that, because that didn't take a whole lot of thinking to do. I got to tell you again, you guys, the join method that I learned from Juan the Yarn Antic. If you don't know Juan, go check him out. If I can find a direct link to the way he attaches his squares, I will put it in my description box. If not, go just check out his channel. It is made, I can get a blanket done in about 3 hours instead of 2 days. And they're coming out just as cute and just as, wait till you see the one I made yesterday. I'll show it to you on Friday. It's darling. And I'm going to be able to book through these a lot faster than I thought. I mean, it's going to take me all summer to get through this, all spring and all summer to get through all of these squares, because there are so many. But it's going faster than it was. So thank you, Juan, for showing me that very easy, fast way to join these squares. That looks amazing. So, oh, and the other thing, in yesterday's video, when I was working on my Agatha's shawl, I had several people ask me about my yarn genie. This is not the wool genie. I do have the actual wool genie. Actually, I have 1 and 2 spindles for the wool genie that I do use. This wooden one I got on Temu, and I have 2 of these. You guys, these are lifesavers. This is the whole skein of the Noro that I put on here, but pop that off, pop that on. Sometimes I'll even do this. If I'm doing something that's got 2 colors, I'll pop 2 of them on here so that they're all together. It will take, these, oops, they are game changers, you guys. Absolute game changers. Because you're not pulling from the center, so it's not going to collapse in on itself. You're pulling from the outside. It doesn't tangle. It just spins at your space. It doesn't tangle up on itself. Game changer. Game changer. Now, I know Temu isn't everybody's thing. There are several versions out there of people who have these, the wool genie, which is plastic. Its magnet might be a little bit stronger, but I haven't found anything that I haven't been able to put on this wooden one that I got from Temu. So, you know, it depends on if you're willing to spend a lot more. I've seen them, you know, for like $50. Some of the, you know, handcrafted ones. But this one works just as well. It looks just as pretty, and it worked, you know, it worked for my budget. So I want to say it was 16 something, like 16.50 or something like that. Not expensive, and game changer. I've put a whole skein of Red Heart on here. I put a whole skein of Big Twist on here when I'm just doing baggy blankets. It can be used that way. So my whole yarn cattiness, I have that really pretty one that Bree from Bree's Crafty Creations, her and her husband made me for my bobbins. I have that one, and I have 2 of these plus the plastic one with 2 spindles. So game changer as far as how I use my yarn. So somebody was asking me, actually a couple people were asking where I got it. This one specifically came from Temu. And I know, say what you will about it, if you look on Amazon, it's the same stuff. It's just coming from a different warehouse. So it all comes from China. It all comes from somewhere other than, mostly other than the United States. It may say it's made in the USA, but it's made with imported products. So, you know, it is what it is. I don't have a problem with Temu, and for me, this works. So anyway, I'm going to get back to my shawl here. I've got some stuff coming in the mail this week that I'm really excited about. My February yarn for the Jimmy Beans wool will be here today, so I can get going on that. Although we'll talk about that on Wednesday because I had to frog some of that, and we'll talk about that. I have an order from Little Knits that came in over the weekend that I'll show you. I can't wait to show you what that is. And, you know, who knows what other shenanigans. Oh, don't forget Tunisian Tuesday tomorrow. I think I did order those hooks. Those haven't come in yet, but we'll do a review on those when those come in. So lots of things happening. You know, it's gonna be a busy month, and we'll do whatever the hashtag tomorrow is. So gosh, 20 minutes of babbling, you guys. If you're still here, thanks. I'm sure a lot of you turned it off when I went on my tangent about Oppenheimer. But anyway, I'm glad you stuck around to listen to me babble on a Monday. I hope everybody had a great weekend and hope you have an even better week. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself some grace. But above all, be kind to everybody. And we'll talk to you tomorrow for Tunisian Tuesday.